I am sure that all of my viewers who see this will know exactly what this is, and thus it needs no introduction. But for the few that don't, this is an HP LaserJet 4050, a member of the LaserJet 4000 series. It was introduced in 1997 and discontinued in 1999, at least as far as I know. I'll put that information in the video description if you wish to figure that out. And I'll tell you what, these things look rather small if they're sitting on a shelf in your school, or if they're sitting on the floor at your place of work waiting for scrapping. When you get them home, they're actually kind of big. I've had mine stored on that office chair for a while, and it fills up the entire office chair. Of course, it makes sense when you consider that it is 15 inches by 19 inches by 13 inches, and it also weighs 40 pounds. But this ain't for the faint of heart. I really don't have any real space for something like this. This is the second in the lineup of HP LaserJet 4000s. The first one is, of course, the 4000. The differences are pretty subtle. You won't really notice any differences until you really dig into the specs. The 4000 has a 100 MHz NEC VR4300 CPU. This bumps that up to a 133 MHz VR4310. 4100, which shared the same general chassis, but it was updated. It had a whole bunch of real improvements. It's the first real improvement to the 4000 series. Bases on a PMC Sierra RM5261 at 250 megahertz. So that was quite the improvement. RAM-wise, the 4000 had 4 megabytes of internal memory and could max out at 100 megabytes, 96 megabytes through the expansion slots and the 4 megabytes on board. The 4050 has 8 megabytes of onboard memory, and it can max out at 200 megabytes. So that would be 192 megs plus the 8 megs on board. It's got 3 RAM slots, which are located behind this trap door here. You pull this off. You can pull this off. Underneath this right here, there are 3 RAM slots. I wonder if you would actually be able to see them. I'll turn the video light on. Oh yeah, you can. Well, I can see them. I don't know if the camera can see them. But that's where those go. If I remember right, actually another difference was at the 4100 when we had 2 RAM slots, but it can max out at 256 megabytes, and it has 16 on board. But I believe it would override the 16 on board if you put memory in it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because that's not what this is. Speed-wise, this thing operates at a rather glacial 17 pages per minute, which actually isn't too bad when you consider that some of the earlier LaserJets are only about 4 pages per minute. The 4100 runs at 25 pages per minute. So 4000 and the 4050 are 17, so there's no real improvement going from there. And DPI-wise, which is probably the most important thing, the 4000 and 4050 are 1200, but if you set them to true, or 1200 DPI, I don't know where 400 came from. 1200 DPI, but if you set it to 1200 DPI, the print speed slows down. The difference with the 4100 is that it can print 1200 DPI at full engine speed, so there is that. As far as the engine goes, I believe these are based on a Canon print engine, but I don't remember all of the details. I know that the 4200 and later were built on a Canon print engine. It does have a cartridge, so if you're looking for one of those, that's what it is. Here's the data plate. See, 4.8 amps at 120 volts roughly, auto-ranging. Auto-ranging between 100 and 127, as it says there. 50 and 60 hertz, but oddly it doesn't support the 230 and 240 that they use overseas, at least in some places overseas. This would be a rather late production model being made in September 9th of 1999. There is the exact model and the serial number if you happen to see it. Here's some jam clearing instructions, which are fairly useful, just in case you happen to be wondering. It's got 2 trays. If you get one with the T in the model, you have 3 trays. There's a third, I believe this is a 500 sheet feeder. I'm going to pull this forward so I can actually pull the tray out. See, I've got paper in it. Just letter size paper. And then it's got a manual feed. 250. maybe 150. No difference between the 4050 and the 4100 and 4000 on that one. If you look at the back, yes, it's missing the back cover. There's supposed to be a plastic cover that goes over the back of that to protect it from dust and things like that. Unfortunately, I don't have it. I didn't think to grab it off of the donor printer. These things are still rather common at my place of work, but we've been given orders to get rid of them. I had a 4000N come across my desk that had some pretty serious roller problems, but the fuser was relatively new in it. This unit needed a new fuser because the fuser was missing, and I presume that the fuser had gone bad, so it was removed. So I took the fuser out of that 4000N, but I didn't think to grab the plastic piece at the back. Oops. Well, it's not like I won't be able to find another one of those. We still have a couple of these things lying around. As far as power consumption goes, well, these things are definitely not Energy Star compliant, or certainly not anymore anyways. At idle, it uses 26 watts, and when it's actually printing, 385 watts. It uses more power than my Pentium 4 Screaming Coder computer down there. No joke. But it does do a very decent job, because these things, they've hung around for a long time. I mean, it's been 21 years. 19 years since this one was made, but 21 years since these were introduced. And they're still going strong 21 years later. 19 plus years later. Whatever, you get the point. It's got a cooling fan on the side, like most laser printers, or at least most of these larger size laser printers. It's got a status LCD here. It's a 2-line dot matrix display. Full of LEDs. Usual layout here. Nothing real fancy there. It has stickers, which are optional and cost nothing extra. At the back here, this is for printing out labels. So if you have labels that are coming out of this, you'd open this up. This is the rear output tray. You'd open this so that way the labels don't have to make the rather sharp turn to come out the front. Because what happens there is you then get labels that stick to the inside of the printer, which is no fun to deal with. I have had to deal with it before. Never again. Wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy. I don't believe you can get a duplexer on the 4000 and 4050. The 4100 had it as an option, and it was a fairly expensive option if I remember too. So, well, there's one thing. I don't know if there's really anything else that I can think of to say, so I guess the next thing to do would be to power it on and run some test pages through it. Oh, right, expansion. I almost forgot to put that. Now, you do have to forgive me. A lot of these options I'm not actually familiar with because I've never really worked with them. So on the back, we can see this here. Let me turn the video light on so you might actually stand a chance of being able to see it. This is labeled as being accessory. Looks like a VGA port, but it's not. I don't remember what all accessories you could add to this. Maybe a coin operation or something. Serial port. That's labeled FR, or FIR, probably for infrared. You can actually see it. There's the parallel port. It's got 2 of these EIO slots, and what those were primarily used for would be for JetDirect networking cards. Now, you could expand these to have networking if they didn't have it originally. And I believe you could also expand them to have the 3rd paper tray if they didn't have them originally. They were really expandable. Really nice printers. There's another port here, or at least what looks like a port. But I'm not sure what that would have gone to. It makes mention of a Mopier on the configuration pages, so maybe that's what that would have been for. Of course, we can see some of the connections, the ground, and the connections for the fuser, and all of that. And then there's your paper tray, of course. So, now we can go ahead and fire it up. I can go ahead and plug it in anyway. There's no USB, it's too old for that. I almost picked up a 2300N, a picture of which you can see on your screen now, which did have USB, but it had a fairly serious problem. It uses, the 2300 is rather much a junk printer. It uses the same paper loading mechanism as the LaserJet 4 series, And those always fail. The roller cracks, they get dirty, and it can't pick up the paper anymore. And they get what I like to call permanent paper jam syndrome. Can't load paper. I mean, the tray 1 probably worked on that thing, so maybe it was worth taking it home and cleaning up the roller. I've had some luck with using WD-40 and brake oil to clean them. I've had luck using talcum powder to rejuvenate the rubber, but it's not going to last forever, so it needs a rebuild kit, and it needs a cartridge, and frankly, it's $2,300. Who cares? Even though the primary tray works, nobody uses the primary tray. So, it's got a hardware power switch on the side right here. You can see it booting. It's not fast at booting, although it is faster than the 2300 is. 2300 is glacially slow. I think it takes like 2 minutes to turn on. Piece of crap. Now it is ready. These things do have a power save. That's where you get your 26 watt power consumption from. It's configurable. I have it set for 15 minutes right now, assuming it remembered it. You could go ahead and have a look. Yeah, power save is set to 15 minutes. Oops. You can turn it off, or you can set it to a maximum of 3 hours. It's got various menus. I apologize in advance. I'm not going to hook up a computer or anything because I don't have a computer really handy that's got a parallel port on it. Here's your various tray handling modes. You could use it, the tray 1, this tray here, as the primary tray. Oops. Or as the cassette, like it usually is. I believe usually you're supposed to set that to first, but I'm going to leave it alone. Tray 1 size. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong buttons. On some of these you can set it to any size, but on this one I believe you're limited to picking a size. All your usual paper sizes. Here's your paper type. Again, all your usual paper types. Tray 2 type. Notice that you cannot change the tray 2 paper size. That's automatic. It has got sensors in it that work based on, if you saw that little blue piece of plastic there, that's its paper. It uses that to sense what type of paper you've got installed, so you better make sure that that's actually set correctly. There's been several instances where somebody set it to legal and then hasn't set it back, and so the printer thinks that there's legal paper in here when in fact there's letter paper, so it wants you to load letter paper in the manual tray, and then when you push go to print on plain legal instead, it complains of the paper type mismatch. That's a very common problem with these. Configure fuser mode menu. That's another menu. Override manual feed. I might just set that to off. Again, you'll have to forgive me. I've never really used a whole lot of these options. Here's your printer resolution. Oops. I might just set that to 600 dpi. I don't really need high DPI. It's got two different 1200 DPI resolutions, Fast Res and Pro Res. Fast Res is a sort of fake 1200 DPI where it runs it at full engine speed, but you don't get true 1200 DPI, whereas Pro Res is true, but you get your slower print speed out of it. I might just leave it at Fast Res. Toner return. Kono mode. Nobody uses a Kono mode. Density, you can run a cleaning page through it. Printing menu, one copy, type of paper, custom paper is off, 60 lines per form, portrait orientation, font source. So you can change your fonts. This really matters for older programs that don't use, they're not WYSIWYG basically. You know, back in the day, you used to have to worry about that kind of thing. Nowadays, programs send the font to the printer, and the printer attempts to print with that font, or if it can't, it uses the built-in font. There are several fonts, I believe. So you can change all of the various different fonts on it. There are a lot of them. Default is 0. There are 90 fonts built in for PCL. wide paper for A4, append carriage return to line feed, postscript errors. Here's your configuration. I was just in that. Personalities, those are additions, I believe. So you can add, I believe that's for extra fonts and whatnot. Resource saving, clearable warnings, auto continue, toner low, on continue, you can have it stop if the toner gets low. Auto jam recovery, small paper speed, new cartridge, configure ProRes, and that's pretty much it for the configuration menu. You have your I/O menu, that's pretty straightforward, and then you can reset all the configurations just like that. So, oh yeah, one more thing. If you remember with dot matrix printers, there was a difference between online and offline. Well, it's the same thing with this. If you push go, you can take the printer offline, and it will no longer respond to anything over the network or via the parallel or serial ports. Okay, let's go ahead and print something. So, the information menu contains all of your printing options. You can also show the event log, so you can have a look at what's on it. Push select, you can see all of the events that it has logged in its time. Up to 30, there are 30 events that it keeps in its memory. You can go ahead and print that out if you really wanted to. We'll go ahead and print the configuration. And here we go with the problem. It's not perfect, of course. Because of course it is a rather high hour printer. Every once in a while it will do that. Sometimes it works. It does what it's supposed to do. Other times it doesn't. Now it probably won't, now that it's on video. Here it goes. Here's our configuration. You can see our page count. I believe for these configuration pages, it actually does not keep count of them. So that's why we can have our 304.760 and a 304.762 down there. It's kind of strange if you think about it. See, printer number B, unless that's an 8, but I think it's B. So there's our memory. Paper tray options, install personalities and options. So these are just the onboard. And there's our 2 EIO slots and our DIMM slots, which are all empty, so it's only got the 8 megabytes of built-in memory. So there's our firmware version. In the event log. And of course, our toner indication there. That's how much toner it's got left. It's about a third full, which is not very much. I would certainly order a new cartridge at that point. But for how little I actually print, it really wouldn't matter for me. So let's print something else. So I could do some demos here. How about the PCL font list? Have a listen. It's printing out multiple pages. I don't know how many pages. Maybe that's the last page. No, Not sure if you can hear that fuser spin down, but man, that sounds awesome. So now we've got 4 pages of PCL fonts. This is all of the fonts that it supports. Oops. Maybe I'll scan these into the computer so you can go ahead and have a look at them. What else can we print on this? Oops. The menu map, that will be all your settings. You can print the PostScript font list and the event log. Oh, it's printing out of the primary tray, I bet. Unexpected paper size. So you can see it thought it was trying to print on legal size paper now. So it's unhappy about that. So you can press the help key to have a look. Either reload the tray with the correct paper, or reconfigure the tray to the paper size it's loaded. Okay, well, you can't configure that tray, so just go ahead and cancel the job. So, okay. There's probably a configuration error somewhere. Spanky's blowing away my paper, so forget that. Just turn it off. Tray 1 size is supposed to be set to legal, which is good. Ooh, the printer has locked up. There we go. Get that back into functional shape. So I guess I won't be testing that. Anyway, I don't think there's really much else that I can think of to say. This video is at 24 minutes already, almost. So, there is your HP LaserJet 4050 at 304,000 pages. It's really not much, though, when you consider that a lot of these that we've got at work are cresting 1 million pages now. And there's even one of them, the aforementioned 4000N that I pulled the fuser out of, that's got almost 2 million pages on it. It really was not designed to handle 2 million pages. I'll tell you that much. We replaced it, to put this into a little bit of perspective, it was replaced with a floor-standing photocopier. So, yeah. Although we don't use the copying options, it's just a printer. I think that would be a change for the better. They're more designed to handle large loads like that. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. Hope to see you next time. Till then.